Good evening, everyone. Welcome to June 21st, 2022. This is support group number 3 for the month of June. We have a smaller group because I didn't send a reminder email, and this kind of shows who are the ones who are dedicated. Tonight, I have a couple of announcements to go through. People asked me to talk about retreats, whether you're kind of guiding them on your own or if you're just doing them on your own, to encourage deeper spiritual practice in that way. And a couple of student questions to go into. But those of you who are here, if you have any questions, definitely let me know. So why don't I start with a little bit of screen share time? I'll be here. I think last time I may have shown you the new cover for the Anahat Meditation System book, but just as an update, that's here. I'm not sure if we have that on Amazon yet, but we're getting there. That I think I had last week. Here's a new cover for the Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment, a spiritually based approach to mind-body healing. So if you haven't read that yet, highly recommended. And then, major announcement, Dr. Abby Parsons is our first official certified Anahat meditation teacher. I've taught others the system before, but in 2020, when I took everybody through the complete series and created onlinemonastery.com, about 100 people were in the classroom that night, only because Zoom capped it at 100. I didn't expect so many. Since then, we've had over 900 people have watched the introductory video. I would say it seems like about 50 people are going through the training right now, based on what I can tell. And then I'm proud to say, this is going to be in the mail to you soon, Abby Parsons, Anahat Education Group, hereby certifies that Dr. Abby Parsons has satisfactorily completed the program of instruction and study to become a certified Anahat meditation teacher and is hereby awarded this certification and testimony whereof Anahat Education Group, upon the recommendation of the director, didn't know what else to call myself there, but that's what we use for the hypnotherapy school, has issued this certificate on this 20th day of June 2022. So congratulations, Dr. Abby Parsons. Honored to have you with us for that. And with that said, if we go to the website, anybody who's here, I'd love to get you on here as well. You just have to meet the basic standards. So I updated some things. If you haven't checked out the monastery grounds yet, then this is the view, this is the land, and soon enough, probably after the winters up here in upstate New York in the Adirondack Mountains are intense, brutally cold. So no building during the winter, but hopefully after this winter, something will start to happen, but within a year or two, I would like to think for sure. Under Anahat Meditation, I changed some of the links there. So now we have certified Anahat meditation teachers. And here, Dr. Abby Parsons, she sent in her bio. We just have to get your contact info in there. But then here, just in case anybody's interested in making it to this level of things, Anahat meditation is an advanced practice that must be taught as it was revealed, and therefore a teacher must meet certain requirements to become certified. Those requirements are found in this video for level 4 training. So there's the 3 levels, and then level 4 is just one video. And even though it's about, I think, 4 hours long, which tended to be my style in those days, I was still kind of figuring out exactly how we're going to do it. But now here's the clear, simple answer. To apply for certification, a student must have completed all training videos for levels 1 to 4, must show the completed checklist, the start date and date of proficiency for all meditations. That's in the lesson 1 workbook. Write an essay on each meditation for levels 1 through 3 and have practiced diligently for at least 1 year. So Dr. Abby met all those requirements, and whenever people ask, how do I get certified? It's really just that. It's the essay that really helps me to see that not only do you know the meditation so you can teach it, but that you understand the meditation. You know what it's meant to do for you, know how it works essentially. All right. So great. So everybody's offering Dr. Abby congratulations. Welcome, Jennifer. And Liliana said, try not to use names so much, but if I don't, excuse me for that. Correcting my meditation posture, remove my knee pain. Thanks. Awesome. Good to hear. Really good to hear, of course. Okay, great. So that is that. What else did I have for us tonight? Yeah, let's do a little bit of screen share. One question was asked, what are the benefits of this? So if you want to teach it, it's good to be able to promote and say, hey, this is what, if you take meditation classes with me in Anahat Meditation, this is what I can do for you. This is what the system will do for you. This is from lesson 1 in the workbook, so it's being covered. But I was asked by a student of Anahat Meditation, what are the practical benefits? So 1, you'll feel a lot more grounded and solid in your body. Now, a lot of people already do, right? Meat eaters, bodybuilders, right? That's not an issue. But as spiritual types, I was a space cadet. I was really out there. People would see me and they're like, you were just so ungrounded. I was literally leaving my body on a regular basis. Like every night I could go into deep meditation, invoke the vibrational state, and float out of my body. And being in my body just was nowhere near as pleasant as being out of my body. But part of how Anahat meditation came to me, meditating in the woods for like 12 hours a day, really saying, how do I keep this intense level of mystical experience going, but also be a grounded, functional human being? I mean, I was really, you can study some of the religious saints, sages, the people you find in the mystical literature, and they often just can't function in the world. They're too sensitive. They can't be around normal worldly energy. If they're not talking about God, it hurts them. Study Ramakrishna. I mean, if he wasn't talking about God, he would, like, if he had talked about something else, it literally hurt him. It would pain him to think of anything but that. So this system helps you to integrate the higher spirituality into your humanness, but it keeps you still open to the higher spirituality. As I've gotten to know Dr. Abby with her reports about Anahat meditation, she was already really into deep spirituality, but she said the system has just really enhanced that, has amplified that, and has offered, forget your exact words, but it's kind of like this wild, sweet, those are my words, for what happens inside. Because we're embracing the higher spirituality, but also bringing it down into our body and even into the sexual energy, and with an open heart, you start getting the fullness of your being like nothing I've ever experienced before. And really, to this day, every day, even 10 minutes ago, I was practicing Anahat meditation. It's just so blissful and wonderful. And it does something like no other system I found, but because it covers all of your being, essentially it covers any system. So if you're practicing deep yogic philosophy, deep samadhi meditation, you're really all about ascending. Well, Anahat meditation has the ascending path built in. So it's just saying, oh, I'm just doing Anahat meditation 3, right? If you're a tantric practitioner and you're working with sexual energy, well, then that's meditation 4 and other meditations in the system. If you're really a heart-centered meditator, like metta meditation about loving kindness, well, that's meditation 2 at your heart. Right? If you're more of a Zen practitioner, that's meditation 1. So it does cover a lot of bases. It does what Tai Chi does, because you're moving energy through your body. It does what any chakra clearing does, because it moves energy through your chakra system. It does what acupuncture does by moving energy through the meridian systems, keeping you from getting energy blocks. That's just off the top of my head without even going through the bullet points. Now, next one, open your heart and clear out old emotional blockages. When students do meditation 1, they start cultivating intense, concentrated meditative power at the hara, the space 2 inches below the navel, or the second chakra region. But then when you move that up to the heart in meditation 2, it starts forcing an inner purification of suppressed emotional content. So if you're willing to take that intense journey of opening your heart and clearing your blocks, the system is going to help to encourage that. Then the third one, attain a seat of higher consciousness, also known as witness consciousness. That is super valuable to know how to pull back and to watch your emotions, but not to be caught up in them. Just that teaching alone is super valuable. And in meditation 3 of Anahat, we start focusing on higher consciousness, and you learn to sit there. It's called the seat of the soul, or witness consciousness. And again, just that alone would be a valuable teaching. Next, meditation 4, essentially here, is you tap into the power of the sexual energy and transform it into higher spiritual energies. I was working with a client today who was talking about sexual issues, and it had a lot to do with the confusion brought about by religion, the church and the shoulds. And I wanted to share with him on Anahat meditation to say, look, if you go up into your higher, he's not at a place to hear this stuff yet, but if you go up into your higher consciousness and embrace spirit, then in meditation 4, you bring that all the way down to your sexual energy. And then meditation 5 brings the sexual energy back up to spirit. So essentially, it's like spiritualizing the sexual energy by honoring the sacredness of every aspect of your being. It brings more peace, but also a lot more pleasure to your body and to your sexuality, because the sexual energy is being infused with spirit and love and conscious presence, right? It's, lots of people have sexual energy, of course, but it's not necessarily infused with deep spirituality. Next is going to clear out and balance the chakra system, right? There's 7 core chakras along the cerebral spinal axis, and this system is constantly moving energy up and down those with a significant focus on the 2nd chakra, the 4th chakra, and the 6th chakra, but it's going to cover everything in between and above and below. Clear out and balance the meridian systems. Every time you breathe up and down the arms in Anahat meditation, you're not just putting attention in the arms, which is good, because wherever consciousness goes, energy goes. Wherever energy goes, blood follows. You want to have consciousness and blood and energy moving through your whole body without any blockages, without resistance. So in Chinese medicine, we put needles all around, right, to encourage that qi flows. But if you do Anahat meditation, you will never develop a blockage in the meridian system. You have 6 meridians on the arms, 6 on each arm, and 6 on each leg. So it's not just that we're moving energy through the arms, we're moving it through the meridian systems, down the yin and up the yang. I think that's right. I haven't thought about that in a little while, but generally moving energy up and down the yin and yang meridians of the arms and legs. Those meridians aren't just about the arms. They connect to the major organ systems, right? So you have there's 12, but you have a meridian in your foot for the liver, and it goes up from top of your foot, up along the legs to the liver region. You have meridian that goes up to the kidneys. So every time you're breathing through the meridians, you're purifying them, and you're also nourishing them. In Chinese medicine, we have excess and deficiency, and a lot of illness comes about because of a deficiency of qi. But when you're conserving sexual energy, when you're eating healthy and living a really holistic or even, quote, spiritual lifestyle, so I don't always like that term, spiritual lifestyle, because every moment's meant to be spiritual. But if you're living a very conscious lifestyle and you're conserving and you're conscious of your energy, then in this system, while practicing this and that intense concentrated power of Jiriki, you're not going to end up deficient, right? Every time we breathe into Anahat meditation 6 from the hara, and then the breath goes up to the kidneys, you're nourishing the kidney adrenal system with all those breaths. In meditation 7, when the energy descends from the crown and flows down into the body, it's nourishing all of the internal organs. So, and again, with a free flow of blood and energy. So you're not going to get any blockages, whether they're mental, emotional, or energetic, if you're doing this system. So it really does what Tai Chi and yoga do. That's why it's not just, oh, I'll obtain this and then I can stop doing it. It's like, why would you stop doing yoga? Why would you stop doing Tai Chi? Right? These are beneficial practices, and this gives you so many of those benefits. Next, you integrate your spirituality into your daily life, because what's above does need to come down to below. And we want to take it off the meditation cushion. It's not just like, all right, I meditate here, but then I'm miserable here, right? We meditate all the time. It's just you can practice this formal meditation system on the cushion, but then it is meant to integrate into your daily life. And the system itself is going to make that happen because, again, of this ascending and descending energetic. Establish a clear connection to source or God. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? So if you're doing this system, it is encouraging every time you sit to put your attention on spirit. We don't just put our attention on various parts of the body. When we breathe, for instance, into the heart, we're focusing on love. When we breathe into the crown region, we're focusing on spirit. Because you're continually, once you know the whole system, going up into that higher region, you're constantly nourishing your connection to God. You don't have to use the word God, But the more you do this, you're tapping into that living presence, that living reality. Therefore, it's a more mature practice. You're not necessarily running around the streets chanting, right? Some people might say, oh my God, look how intoxicated that person is, chanting God's name, rolling down the aisles. This is a very mature practice where the bliss and love and peace and joy are held deep inside. And nobody may know that you've got this going on inside, right? They say the mystics keep this in the privacy of the heart, right? It doesn't have to be shouted from the rooftops. Although there is a lot to be said about getting out there and teaching it once you see the benefits, of course. Purify the system in preparation for Kundalini awakening. The core central channel, the Sushumna, and the Ida and Pingala nadis, those snake-like channels, need to be clear for the intense dormant power of Kundalini to start moving up the spine. If that hasn't happened for you yet, there is something called Shakti Pat, where a very advanced teacher can awaken that, but that can sometimes be done prematurely. And just because you find a teacher who can do that, it doesn't mean you're actually ready for it. You want to purify your blockages first before this really intense spiritual energy starts to move. We feel this energy before out-of-body experiences, but not only that. I mean, once it's awakened, you'll know. And it's a very intense thing. So if there's blockages, the Kundalini kind of is like, yeah, I'm not going to move yet, right? You're not ready for that yet. But if you just keep doing this system, it's kind of like gradually wearing away a rock, or like water, waterfall gradually wearing away the rock underneath. You don't want to rush that. It's like ripping the skin off of a snake prematurely. But when your system is clear enough and ready enough, because this meditation system brings the energy down to the tailbone region, into the sexual energy, which is very connected to Kundalini, it's going to help to nurture that awakening. So you don't even have to try to awaken Kundalini, just do the system. Eventually that powerful energy is going to start to move on its own. Next, you can realign the sacred geometrical grids that underline the human form. So why would that be beneficial? The sacred geometry glyphs that I show in the system of the six-pointed star show a really perfect balance of ascending and descending, masculine and feminine, higher and lower. It's really like the picture of health. It's the picture of fruition or perfection of a human being. When those grids aren't aligned, meaning the meridians are blocked, it's hard to really say what it means by the grids not being aligned, because I don't know of any other system that teaches this. It's not like in my Chinese medical studies, they talked about the sacred geometrical grids being out of alignment, but generally they talked about 12 major meridians that get blocked. And the idea was to get the energy flowing smoothly through all of those. When I was in meditation back in 1996, when all of this came to me, the energy just started moving through this pattern. And it was only because I was really just so open and clear at that time that I was able to witness this. Now people who do this system report to me, it's like the energy just moves through the grids on its own. I don't even have to do anything anymore. I was just constantly tracing these patterns. And there's something about when they're really well aligned, like, your shoulders should be level, right? But if the grids are off, right, you're off. In Zen, they say, when walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble. Right? So this is all about this precise, perfect alignment with the grids. Acquaint you with the wisdom contained within these grids. Every sacred geometrical symbol has wisdom, like the six-pointed star shows us ascending and descending. It shows us balance, right? Metatron's cube shows us the fruit of life with 13 spheres. And like, what does that mean? What does this number 12 mean in the system? The more you meditate on sacred geometry, it's like the secrets of the universe start unraveling for you. And you can't always verbalize what that means. Where's the practical nature of that? I don't know. What's the practical nature of deep spirituality or philosophy or the mystical path, right? It's more of an internal personal experience where you just seem to know things that seem really valuable, right? Without going into more detail there. Next, develop a clear, precise, and focused mind, right? Just that alone, any good meditation system is going to get your mind more clear. So mindfulness meditation is included in this for sure, right? Mindfulness meditation is essentially just a watered down version of deep Buddhist teachings because nobody wanted to hear about meditation and spirituality, right? It's okay. We'll call it mindfulness. But if you're practicing a system like this, you're absolutely practicing mindfulness, right? And the benefit of a clear, precise, and focused mind, should go without saying, right? Because everybody who is suffering is essentially not having a clear, precise, and focused mind. When your mind is totally present and it's under your control, right? It's a trained, disciplined mind, it can accomplish anything. But A Course in Miracles says nothing can be accomplished with an untrained mind. So this helps to train your mind, to put it to use for what you want it to be used for. Align the energy system to open to profound mystical experiences, including out-of-body experiences. Those will start happening for you as you're doing a system like this, right? This isn't the only way to tap in, but the system will get those to start to occur. Now, mystical experiences are just experiences, meaning they will become memories. But when you go through that phase of your life, which could be a year or two of 3, or of psychic visions, of third eye projections, where you're literally entering other dimensions through your third eye, or overt out-of-body experiences where you're floating out of your body. But then as the veil starts thinning, you'll start encountering non-physical beings, whether you see them or don't see them. There are helpers, there are guides, there are angels, there are ascended masters. They're out there or right here, right? But you have to tune your radio frequency to a different octave, a different frequency, to be able to tap into that. As you start doing level 2 of Anahat meditation, it's going to encourage that you're putting your attention in more of the etheric and astral planes. And then once the out-of-body experiences do start occurring, they don't have to, but it's really amazing when they do. Yeah, you'll know more about the fabric and structure of the universe beyond any book you could ever read. Like I studied mysticism, religion, philosophy for years in college, and 3 out-of-body experiences taught me more than any of my religious studies. Because when you're out of your body and you walk through a wall and you sense that it is made out of light and consciousness and bliss, you'll know, right? You'll know that inside of a rock is pure bliss. You'll know that you can float through a ceiling, and you'll know what it's made out of. That the experiences are amazing in that way. They also will convince you that you're not a body, and they will give you insight into the nature of reality, right? Are there other beings? Well, as soon as you meet them, you'll know that there are, right? Are there other dimensions? As soon as you go there, you will know there are. Is time travel possible? As soon as you do it, you'll know it's possible. Can a human being attain cosmic consciousness? As soon as you do it, you know it's possible. So mystical experiences are a profound way to help you to understand what's really going on in the universe. Next, fully integrate the physical, etheric, astral, mental, and causal bodies with spirit. When we're not quite in our bodies, especially if you start having these mystical experiences, it robs you of health, because your consciousness is one with your life force. And where your consciousness goes, your life force follows, right? Your consciousness is Shiva, and your life force is Shakti. Wherever consciousness goes, Shakti follows, right? Or Purush, wherever Purush goes, Prakriti follows. Prakriti is in the service of Purush. So if you are not in your body, if Purush, spirit, is not fully integrated, it's going to cause health problems. Your digestion and all the lower organs are not getting as much life force because you're a space cadet, right? You're too out of your body. So especially if you're a deep mystic who's having mystical experiences, you need to know how to come back in. So we want our etheric, astral, mental, causal bodies integrated with our human body while we're here. But then when you leave your body, right, you're able to use your etheric astral bodies to travel, or you can leave those behind. But when we're here, we do want complete integration, and the system does that for sure. And then last one here, move through the stages of samadhi into oneness with God. Right, so that's really what it's all about. You can learn samadhi meditation without all this stuff, but then you don't get all these other benefits necessarily. It's like doing yoga and saying, well, if you just meditate, you can have samadhi. But if you don't do yoga, you don't get the flexibility, the strength, the balance, all the benefits that come from the practice itself. Also, samadhi can be really hard to achieve when your human system is not in a good space, when your body is tired, heavy, energy is blocked, your heart is closed, your emotions are knotted up, your mind is unfocused. You're not moving into samadhi while that's happening. You might get little glimpses of what that word means, but it does require that your human system is in a really highly refined state of being. If you study some of the deep yogic teachings, the yogis are encouraging very pure diet, very pure lifestyle. I mean, it's not like you achieve samadhi just through meditation. So tonight we can talk a little bit about retreat and like, what does it mean to live a quote spiritual life? Again, I put it in quotes because your life should always be in every moment spiritual. But if like I lived at Kripalu Yoga Ashram and they had spiritual lifestyle training, SLT, and students would come. I never did it formally because I lived there. But students would come in, I think it was like for 7 days or something, and they would learn how to live a spiritual lifestyle. So we can talk about that a little bit tonight. So that's one of the answer, or an answer to one of the questions that I had. All right, and then let's go to the other question. Can you talk about discerning truth from falsehood? So sure. Actually, I was working with my client today on this because, as I mentioned, there were sexual themes for him, and there was religious upbringing with the shoulds and the go to hell type of stuff. And if you do something wrong there, you're going to hell. So I talked to him about discernment, and I said, have you learned to discern truth from illusion, love and fear, spirit and ego? So what I encourage for the person who asked the question, and by listening right, is start to, and this is very much Course in Miracles type of teachings, and also we get this in yogic philosophy, the idea of what's called vivek kyatsi, or discriminating or discerning wisdom. Discrimination is not the most politically correct term anymore, so we don't discriminate, we discern, right? And what are we discerning? Well, first of all, let's understand what discernment is. I can discern this is my left hand and this is my right hand, right? I have that ability to discern. I know this is my left eye, this is my right eye. I know this is a computer screen and this is a body, right? How do I know the difference? That's called discernment. Yet we don't often apply that to reality versus unreality, right? So how do we know when it's reality? How do we know when it's truth? Truth is unchanging. Truth is eternal. Truth is always there. Truth is consistent. So what is it that's always there, that's true and consistent and real? My experience of that, and I think any of you who've been around the block would agree, love is what's real. Fear is the illusion, right? Fear is F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. We want to discern the difference between the two. Spirit is love. Spirit is consciousness. Spirit is eternal. Spirit is real. All right, so what's the opposite? Well, we call that ego. What is that? It's a false self. It's a masquerading self. It's a self that makes shit up. It's a self that literally is false in and of itself. It's not who you really are. It's what you're pretending to be. How do we know when we're in that? It causes suffering. Right? It's going to be based on attack and defense. It's based on lack. It's based on fear. It's based on judgment. It's rooted in unforgiveness. It causes the idea of separation, right? But basically, whenever you're suffering, any form of pain or suffering or dis-ease or disharmony, you have fallen out of spiritual awareness. So discernment is the key, right? And how do we know the difference? Spirit always brings us peace, love, joy, and harmony. Ego always, eventually, but really right away when you're in egoic thinking, if you're subtle enough, it brings discomfort, pain, disharmony, separation, and really struggle. And it's a mind rooted in lack. A Course in Miracles calls the ego, or says of the ego, that it's a murderous mind. It's an attacking mind. Don't ever buy into the idea that ego is a good thing. Now, ego in Sanskrit is a hankar, and in its essence, it just means amness, like here I am. Okay, I am. That's not a bad thing to say, okay, I am. But as soon as you start saying I'm bad, I'm stupid, I'm a sinner, I'm unlovable, I'm dirty, I'm disgusting, that's not beneficial. So ego is not beneficial. It's not a sin, it's not bad, it's just not beneficial. Living from spirit, identifying with spirit is beneficial. So the same student email talked about briefly, like when you're rooted in spirit, you're so much more powerful, so much more effective. In A Course in Miracles, not knowing who you are in that way is called level confusion, right? So we have spirit, we have matter, we have the body, we have the emotions, and in the mind, we have the sense of self known as ego. Right? Level confusion is when the spirit forgets who it is, identifies with the human. You're not a human, right? You're not a body. I'm not this body. This is a vehicle through which I'm communicating. But I am not this body, emotions, or mind, and you're not your body, emotions, or mind either. Anahat meditation will get you in the ascending path to know yourself as spirit and not to identify with yourself as body. However, you, the spirit, needs to be fully with your body, as I was saying before. You want to be fully in your heart. The Anahat system has three major words for me: in unity, love, and service. Unity, love, and service. In unity, we're united with all that is in the higher sense of things. In love, we've got the heart fully open, and service is about being fully here. So we're not denying the body. We're just saying it's not you, it's a vehicle. But level confusion is where you confuse the levels. Your sense of identity is with the lower self, not with the higher self. Anahat meditation embraces the lower self of body, mind, emotions, yet it clearly acknowledges you're much more than that. Okay, great. Let's see in those questions. So how to talk about discerning truth from falsehood. Essentially, we got that. And then what are the benefits and practical applications of this system of thought theology? And we covered that. All right, great. Let's spend, and then I'll open up to any Q&A or whatever. And then welcome anybody who joined in. Sean, good to have you here. All right, let's go to, where is it? PDFs. So I was asked about talking about retreats last time. This is in lesson number, oh, let me be sure I say that accurately. Give me one sec. At the very, very bottom at onlinemonastery.com of the Anahat meditation page where all the teachings are. I think it's actually in level 4. Oh, I know how to find that. Let's just go back here. Okay. And then we just have to look at what manual this is. Duh. Okay, so yeah, this is welcome to level 4. Okay, so this is the teacher trainer course that you definitely have to go through. So remember, if you want to be a teacher of this, start using this checklist, which is in lesson 1. It's just repeated here in lesson 4, in level 4. So you need to go through all 15 lessons, put the start date that you went through it, the day you start, and then once you feel proficient, you start going through, you start writing down those dates. Thank you, Dr. Abby's in level 4. So yeah, without this chart, I don't know that you've actually been practicing. But when you see, you know, like somebody's been using this for a good year, the page looks wrinkled, and you have some extra writing on it, and you see the dates, or you cross out the date when you think, I wasn't quite proficient, put another date. It's pretty obvious, when somebody's actually been doing this. So just so you know, that's in the teacher trainer manual. Here, just an overview is level 1, level 2, and level 3, and then the certified teacher level. There's 15 lessons, but there are 24 total meditations. Okay, and then here's a good checklist for what you really want to accomplish if you're going to be a teacher. But essentially I outlined when the class started the minimum that I'm looking for, but this says everything you really should be working with. Okay. So leading retreats, whether you lead them or do them on your own, I would really encourage, first of all, do them on your own. I have spent, since I was my first Zen teacher, he asked me to house sit for his house where the Zen room was. And I did 9 days by myself for my first retreat. So solitude is amazing for this. One of my teachers in the early days, he said, needs are not natural. You have no need. You think you need people, you don't need people. Now, of course, in some level we do, right? As far as culture and society and getting your food. But as far as like your personal fulfillment, it's great to be around people. I'm not saying you shouldn't be around them, but he was saying that needs are not natural. And he said, if you feel lonely, it's a blockage. And he's like, you know how to get over that blockage? Go sit by yourself. He said, sit by yourself until you can be happy, right? Get over the blockage that you need another human being to be happy. And I really took that to heart. I was in my early 20s and it's like, all right, I'm going to do that. I'm going camping by myself. And I was scared to do that. Like, who goes camping by themselves? That was weird to me. And I set up my tent, and right next to me, like the spot over is another tent. And there was a man and a woman in there, and they were having fun. They're probably making love. And I'm sitting there by myself. And I'm like, oh, poor me. I'm not in here with the woman. And I'm all by myself. And, that was just thoughts. And my teacher was so right. He's like, let that stuff go, let that stuff go. But you have to like burn through it. So when you force yourself to sit by yourself for long periods of time with no distractions, no phone, no music, no computer, it's like just spiritual practice, you start burning through blockages you wouldn't find otherwise. People bring up our blockages, life events bring up our blockages, but intense solitude and silence can really bring up your blockages. Of my life principles that I live by, I have 3 S's in there: silence, simplicity, and solitude, right? As like major of my 12 major life principles or values, silence and solitude are 2 of those. And that came again early on in my 20s, realizing these are virtues to be able to spend time alone. Like during COVID, when they're asking us to lock down in our houses, it was like, great. Like, I can think, I can wait, I can fast. So during my first retreat with my Zen teacher at his house, like he got me started on how to do something like this. I spent 4 days fasting. That's as long as I was able to do it at the time. But like really pushing myself, and then eventually getting to the point where I was able to do about 12 hours a day of spiritual practice. So what is the benefit of that? Well, I just went through that whole list of benefits, right? But either way, just to take some retreat, to get some respite from the craziness of the world. They say when the people go crazy, the saints go into hiding. So what can you do? Well, number 1, make a schedule. And then it doesn't mean you're sitting every minute of that. It's just way too hard for almost anybody to do. So if you look at, like, here is a Friday night, like when I did Zen retreats with a community in Gainesville when I was at University of Florida, we would do Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. But by yourself, maybe you've got a weekend, and just carve out all day Saturday, all day Sunday. In the morning, when you start your meditation practice, as early as you're willing to wake up, and honestly, I'm not much of an early riser, but some people are, and getting up around 4:30 or 5 is sometimes the best time. The energy of the world, these people in your area of the world, they're still sleeping. So the early morning is very sacred. Like right just as the sun is rising, great time to get on the cushion. There are ways to start your day for a practice like this, where you're not just getting right on the cushion, because you're still tired, right? And it's hard to just get right on the cushion. In Zen, there's a certain type of bowing. You can do X number of bows, but 108 is usually traditional. And these aren't just like bending at the waist. This is like a full body prostration where you go to your knees, then your forehead's on the ground, then you lift your hands up, which is lifting the feet of the Buddha, and then you stand up again, and you do it 108 times. It's exercise. That's one way that some Zen practitioners start the day. But you might start with yoga first. You could do an hour of yoga in the morning. I love my chi machine. That's the first thing I do every morning after going to the bathroom, washing the face, waking up. I get on the chi machine and I'll listen to some type of inspirational spiritual teaching, or just like binaural beats, just to get myself really aligned. And then quite often I'll spend a good 20 minutes on a biomat. So over here to the right. The biomat is very warming. It's filled with amethyst crystals and negative ions, right? So I consider all of this spiritual practice, even if I'm using technology these days. But it's all about just doing things for you to get centered and clear and balanced. The chi machine helps loosen up all your energy in your body, so you'll feel all tingly all over. The biomat makes it all just warm and wonderful, and then your mind is just so clear. So I do that before I get on the cushion in the morning. After I do those 2 things, which takes about 35 minutes, then I'll get on the cushion and I'll go through Anahat meditation levels 1 and 2, breathing through the entire system. And for me, that takes about a half hour. Once I've done that, I'm pretty much good for the day. But again, this is a retreat. So what do you do after you do like your 30 minutes or so on the meditation cushion after your legs fall asleep? You can go do yoga. You could do Tai Chi, or in Zen, there's something called Kin Hin, which is just walking meditation. So you can Google Kin Hin, spelled with a K or a Q. And then you'll spend like 5 minutes walking, like very formally walking Zen meditation. And then you get back on the cushion. And in Zen, basically, you walk, sit, walk, sit, walk, sit. And you could do like 5 of those, right? Sit for a half hour, walk for 5. Sit for a half hour, walk for 5. And you'll fill a good 2 to 3 hour chunk of time if you do it that way. When you have meals, they could be done in silence. You could eat very, very mindfully. If you're interested in formal Zen eating, that is called oryoki, O-R-Y-O-K-I, oryoki. There's very specific bowls and a spoon and chopsticks in your napkin, and it's a beautiful ritual that makes your eating a meditation. You could also incorporate into the day work practice, right? So my house is impeccably clean because part of my spiritual practice is to work, right? So I work for Anahat Education Group, I work for the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy, I work on Online Monastery and all the other projects that are going on, which is a lot, but also cleaning the house is part of it. Another major part of spiritual lifestyle is body practice, right? So that you spend, I would say, almost every day, but as far as like exercise, like 5 days a week. So during your retreat time, you incorporate strength training, flexibility through yoga, Tai Chi or Qigong, but also just cardiovascular fitness, right? So putting into a daily schedule, if you're meditating all day, go take an hour and get some exercise, right? Like perfectly valid. You don't want to just only sit or your chi kind of gets stagnant. So exercise or clean the house, right? Cleaning the toilet becomes spiritual practice, right? Even if you have somebody who cleans your house, like go clean your own toilet. It's humbling, right? It's good to just say, I personally get $300 an hour. And yet when I go I could pay someone to clean my toilet, but it's like, do it yourself just for the act of putting your energy into keeping the space clean. Other things you can do during retreats when you're not just formally sitting is to read spiritual books, right? Or even just study. So studying things like nutrition or just reading like the Sacred Geometry Meditation or something like that. Listening to spiritual teachers during that time, you see from 2 to 3 in the schedule, it says teacher a lecture. So you can just go to YouTube, find any spiritual teacher that resonates with you, or maybe like you could say these kind of teachings, and then that becomes part of it. But I would encourage you, if you're spending a whole day, set a goal for 6 hours of just sitting, right? Everything else is kind of filler around the sitting. Yoga, Tai Chi, exercise, studying, cleaning. Those are like, main things you can do. But also, I love hypnosis, of course. So I'll spend a good probably 2 hours total today. I didn't get any time in it. I was working today. But usually every single day in the afternoon from 4 to 6 o'clock in the recliner, doing deep hypnosis type of work, really powerful inner work. It's in those spaces that divine inspiration comes in. It's like, write this book, do this project, right? It's not just being totally empty, like I get totally empty, but that lets you get filled by the voice for spirit that guides you and kind of shows you the vision and tells you what to do. So if you're not taking that time, then yeah, you're missing out on something really valuable internally. So anyway, this is a schedule. It's available online in level 4, the certified teacher manual. And it's just some sense of giving an idea that you write your own schedule and you hold yourself to it. A really good idea when you're meditating is to have a timer, whether you use Alexa, can't say her name or she'll start listening. So if you use Alexa or something like that, or just, on your cell phone or just a watch, set a timer and don't move until that timer goes off. So yeah, I can't recommend enough, like hours and hours a day in spiritual practice. It's not unrealistic. It just is not the norm. But if you're a true mystic, you're truly seeking God, you start dedicating more and more and more time to that. And it's not a sacrifice, even though you're letting go of external things. Eventually you start to realize there's nothing out there, right? And everything out there is going to be a temporary experience anyway, right? This is investing in what's eternal, not in what's temporary, right? At some point, you're like, I've been to the other countries, I've, I've had these relationships, like I've done everything. But the inner journey is infinite and so much more fulfilling. And again, it's really the most practical thing you can do. Okay, so at the bottom here, you see some other examples, things like work practice, movement practice, again, body practice, etc. All right, that's that. Any other questions or sharing? Great. So Crystal, you wrote, wanted to share that practicing descending meditation helped me in A Course in Miracles workbook practices that describes reach down, sink deep to safety, to peace, to consciousness. Nice. I felt a resistance to going down. Down equals bad, up equals good, God. Remembering I've been descending and how that felt helped me move past some of the resistance. Beautiful. Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. In the descending meditation of Anahat, it seems like you're just being asked to only be in your body. In Zen meditation, we sit with our eyes open and we're just basically staring at a wall. I mean, it's not what you're doing, but your eyes are just open and you're just sitting there breathing. And like, why? Because you can close your eyes and do a deep yogic practice, up equals God, up is good, like you said. That's like really beautiful. But if you study deep Buddhism, the Buddha, when he sat under the Bo tree, he stopped all that ascending stuff because he had done that. He was way, way out there in the highest mystical states, but he kept realizing, wait, I keep coming back to the human. I keep coming back to suffering because I can't eliminate the human being. So there's got to be an answer. And he actually went down and in. What happens if you close your eyes, just because you have two little flaps of skin covering your eyeballs, it doesn't, like, what does that do? It actually creates somewhat of an illusion of a duality, right? This inner and this outer world, or this idea that there's an up and a down. I can tell you now, after doing Anahat meditation for like 25 years or something, meditation for me doesn't really have an up or down anymore. It doesn't have a God up here and like body down here. It integrates. So where there's no in or out, there's no up or down, there's just God, right? So when Buddha was enlightened, he said, like, I am Buddha. He was in the oneness that A Course in Miracles wants us to experience, yet right in the very present moment. So Zen is the most refined, this is my opinion, but other people's opinion too. It's the most refined version of Buddhism because essentially it asks you to just sit. So when you do meditation 1, the essence of just descending means just sitting here, fully present, fully real, fully intimate with your body, intimate with your breath. And it doesn't matter that the two flaps of skin aren't covering your eyeballs because the duality isn't based on your eyeballs or your eyelids. The duality occurs in your mind, right? When you say there's an I and then there's everything else. But in the purest meditation, which I hope you're kind of moving into now, just listening and being with this idea, you're empty. Buddhism calls it shunya, empty of a separate self. When you are empty, you are one with the 10,000 things, as they say. So enlightenment is to study the self, or spiritual practice is to study the self, but enlightenment is to forget the self. And then to forget the self is to be illuminated by the 10,000 things, which means you are one with all that is. So just to come down and in might seem like, but I'm not going towards God. But remember, down and in is into the body, which is here now, and the body is one with the universe. The body never said it was separate from the universe, right? All the atoms of the body never declared that they were different than the other atoms in the whole universe, right? So the body is one with the universe, and your breath is one with the universe, right? When you breathe in and out, that all of that nitrogen and oxygen or whatever, that's cosmos, right? You're breathing in the vibrations, the life force, the atoms of the universe. There's no duality. It only exists in your mind. So when you're fully present, the sense of self drops away. As you're empty, then you're filled with the whole. So descending is really about being so present that the sense of you drops away. That really is the state of the Zen master. So yeah, descending doesn't mean not one with God. It means you embrace the idea of the wisdom of no escape, which is what Buddha did in those last 6 months before his final enlightenment. He just sat and he gave up. There wasn't a self trying to ascend, right? So when you have an out-of-body experience, it sure seems, and there's important stages to go through, but it seems like there's a you, an individual soul that kind of goes around and does stuff. In many ways, that's illusory. I'm not saying it's totally illusory because it's really valuable. But in Buddhism, they don't talk about Atma, meaning the soul. They talk about Anatma, meaning no soul, no individual self. So if you say, well, there's no individual self, well, what's left? If I'm just sitting here, what's left? The whole universe is what's left, right? Somebody asked me recently, like, is there absolute truth and relative truth? I'm like, well, if you're not around, truth is still true. If there were no human beings, truth would still be true. We don't need people with egos for truth to be true. So what happens when you're sitting and there's no ego, there's no personal self, there's no one home, right? Get those glimpses of that. And then there's no more attainment. So you really know, not that you stop spiritual practice because it's good for you and it's good for others that we do it. But when there's no more attainment, like after I do Anahat meditation, there's really not much more need to keep doing it because it brings you to perfect balance and wholeness. And there's no personal self left. It's like, okay, now I let the energy of life move me to do my next thing. So yeah, descending is not spiritual. It is letting spirit be the reality of now, right? Fully present, fully here. However, there is the heart and there are the higher chakras and there is a consciousness that you are that can transcend and leave the body, right? And there are meridians and there are chakras. So a Zen meditator might be fully present, but it doesn't mean they are doing all the other aspects. So in Zen practice, like at Zen Mountain Monastery where I lived, the teachings are based on the 8 gates of Zen. And that includes body practice, work practice, liturgy practice, art practice, all 8. But, it's the idea of a holistic life. But again, it's a very present moment here now way of being. All right, great. So yeah, using names here, Radio, welcome. Said, after a spontaneous Kundalini experience and spontaneous out-of-body experiences during the hypnotherapy training, I began doing the training to consciously leave my body. At the time, I thought that was an ultimate goal. I was so wrong. The system is absolutely amazing. Thank you. Great, thanks for saying that. Not that the out-of-body experiences aren't awesome. Like they're worth having. However, even the highest experience, there's like 2 major high experiences. One is cosmic consciousness, right? Where you are out of your body, but your consciousness expands to be as big as galaxies. It's what I've heard about is like in my experience of it, it's hard to just keep going because, the universe is really big. So at some point it's like, okay, enough. But your consciousness can become enormously huge. That's worth having those kind of experiences, right? If you read Autobiography of a Yogi with Paramahansa Yogananda, he was begging his guru for that experience. And when he finally had it, yeah, it changes you forever. But it is an experience. And you don't want to keep reliving experiences because they're always temporary, right? So even that glorious cosmic conscious experience called Virat Swarup, or the vision of the cosmic self, is still going to become a memory for you. So that as a goal can't actually be the goal because memories are not the goal, no matter how great those memories are. Also, the ascension all the way into God beyond the beyond, right, which is not just out of your body, but out of the physical plane, out of the etheric and astral plane, above and beyond the causal plane, through the infinite light of consciousness itself, and then all the way back into source. That is an experience you cannot have in your body, and it's absolutely worth working towards. However, what you find up there, this idea that there's an up there, and there is an up there. There is a transcendent realm beyond all vibration, right? There is a source. It's really valuable in the enlightenment process to have the cosmic conscious experience and the full ascension experience. But what you find at the very peak of the mountain is shunya, is emptiness, is ayin in Hebrew, the mystical no-thingness. If I'm qualified to talk about enlightenment at all, if I were to say, okay, is somebody fully enlightened without the experience of absolute transcendence? Not necessarily, right? Because you've never experienced yourself beyond time and space, beyond all vibration. However, in deep samadhi right here now, your body and mind can drop away from your awareness. You don't have to have this idea of going up and out. That infinite consciousness is right here. So when we do close our eyes, I mean, this kind of with eyes open, but it is a lot easier with eyes closed. You close your eyes and you go so deep, like in, not up and out, but in. It's so hard to describe, but it's like this inner movement. And yoga practice is called pratyahar, sense withdrawal. You're withdrawing from your senses, away from your eyes, nose, ears. Everything just moves very, very deep inside. And then you're not aware of your body anymore. And then eventually the mind gets totally quiet and there's no more mind. And then what's left right here now, that absolute source is what's left. So the idea that you have to go up and out to it can be misleading because it is right here now. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of the out-of-body experience. Once you start having, not necessarily radio, but just to anybody, once you start having those, you'll be convinced that you're a spiritual being. You'll just know, okay, I'm not a body. So really valuable. But in Buddhism, Buddha was not big at all on teaching out-of-body experience, right? Not that he hadn't done that before. I'm sure he had. But when he realized, all right, to get over all suffering, I can't try to escape the human. That didn't work. And then he just fully embraced the human experience. By doing Anahat meditation, the internal reality, when the energy is moving through, is so blissful. And it makes, like, with the sexual energy, everything becomes so pleasurable and the heart is so open and everything's so wonderful as the human. It's like, why do I need to go anywhere? And personally, for me, I can say to support what you just said there, I don't leave my body anymore, because the idea that there's an individual you who goes somewhere, that's illusory. In Sanskrit, this is called jivatma, or the individualized essence. And that's like a drop of the ocean. But in the deeper enlightenment stages, the ocean becomes the drop. You are, as the Sufis say, in a state of fana, which means annihilation. Annihilation of what? Not your body. Annihilation of the idea that you're an individual separate self. And then what's left? Just the love of God is what's left, right? But when it's integrated into your heart and your humanness, then your human experience becomes beautiful. So yes, thank you for saying that. Like, you can be, to use your words there, so wrong that that's like the ultimate goal. All right, what Buddha achieved, which is Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, complete unexcelled awakening. But then as you're moving deeper into that way of being, like, just like every moment is that, then after a period of time, what's left, like, where does that go? It goes into compassionate service to others, because what else are you going to do, right? It's like, all right, I'm good. Oh, they're still suffering? And that's where the bodhisattva vow comes in. I heard a teaching recently where the teacher was like, the bodhisattva says he or she, is not going to achieve nirvana until everyone else is free. You have to achieve nirvana to help everyone else to get free, right? So it's a misunderstanding. Bodhisattva vow is not, I would delay my enlightenment. The bodhisattva vow is, no, go get enlightened and then go be of service. And that's actually the highest teaching, entering the marketplace with helping hands. Awesome. All right. So any questions you're sharing? I think we covered the requested questions for tonight. Let me see, did I get the, yeah, I got what was in the Q&A pod. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so yeah, when we start to wrap it up, it's been an hour. This is just meant to help to support people going through. I hope it encourages you. This is Dr. Abby. Congratulations again, became our first certified practitioner for this, and that means a lot. I've been teaching this since 1996, really, when it came to me. I started sharing it right away. But now that there's a clear system that has been put out in 2020, yeah, we've got our first official certified person. Just anybody who's here, I'd love to have more of you teaching. Just got to meet those standards to know that we're duplicating the system properly, right? It's meant to outlive all of us for sure. So we'll do class again next week. I think that'll be the last Tuesday of the month. So feel free to show up. We'll talk about something groovy. and then we'll see if we're going to continue the classes or not. But either way, one way or another, there'll be support long-term as I'm creating more teachers and whatnot. So thank you everybody for being here. Any last questions or sharing before I wrap it up for tonight? All right, looks like we're good. All right, thank you all. Appreciate you being here. I'll see you next week if you'd like to join me. And then every Monday night as well, free classes, Monday night conscious community class online. Okay, good night. Thank you all.